So a lot of people talk about inflation right now. What do you know about inflation?
Gas prices.
Save it for the video.
Bruh.
A lot of people are talking about inflation right now. What do you know about inflation?
Gas prices and interest rates going up.
So gas prices going up. That's inflation?
No, that's people call it inflation, but I don't know if it's inflation or not.
Okay. You said interest rates. What about interest rates?
Interest rates are going up because of inflation.
Interesting.
Okay, first up, the simplest definition. Inflation is when there is more money in the economy than stuff to spend it on. But if you're like me, the simplest definition never does it for you. So let's try this. Imagine a village that has one market where people buy all of their stuff, their food, their clothes. But one day the government shows up because they're worried about the economy of this village. So they tell the people that if they want to take out a loan, they're going to make sure that the banks will not charge them a high interest rate. They want to encourage the people to take out loans and spend money. Oh, and they also drop off a giant pile of cash for everyone in the village. And everyone in the village is like, sweet, I'm feeling pretty rich. Villagers now are going to their market and they're buying way more stuff. Many of them have been eyeing the fancy electric bike in the market that before they couldn't justify, but now they totally can because they have all this new money. The store owner's like, sweet, this is great for business, but he's running out of bikes. In fact, he's running out of everything because now all of these people have extra money and they're buying way more than they used to. The store owner's like, I can't keep up with all this demand. I should raise prices. And that is inflation. But the village is all of us.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What is he saying?
He's running out of stuff. It's not cheap. So if people are just going to buy everything out because they have more money, then I'll just raise the prices.
Why?
Because, like I said, the stuff that he has is not cheap. He said the electric bike.
Mm-hmm.
That's expensive. That's
Right.
not cheap. So, and people are just buying it all because they have all this money. So he has to raise the prices if he's going to want to be able to keep up with the items that they're all buying.
And the market is the entire economy. When there's extra money floating around and people want to spend it faster than businesses can make stuff, then all of the businesses in all of the industries raise their prices. And that is inflation. It's a natural part of the economy. It's kind of a good thing in small doses because it means that the economy is growing. And it's why movie tickets used to be 25 cents and now they're like $15.
I used to watch movies when I was a kid for $1.25.
And slowly over time, it's fine. Okay, let's go back to the village and see what happens if we keep going at this rate. The store owner has now doubled his prices on bikes. The interest rate is super low, so he takes out a loan to build a new factory to make bikes. This is good. He's growing a business. But the government money eventually runs out, and his prices are still double. But now the store owner has no one to come buy all of his new bikes. And now he has this factory and more employees, but no customers. He has to shut down the factory, lay off everyone, and slowly start lowering his prices.
That doesn't seem like inflation. This seems like after inflation.
Yeah.
So.
But that is probably what's going to happen.
Well, it's definitely what's going to happen. But it just seems like he's explaining inflation, but we already went past inflation.
This is called recession. When COVID shut down the world, governments gave us money, free money. They're like, don't panic and hoard all your money. Instead, spend and borrow and keep the economy going. Here in the US, they literally sent us $3,200 checks. They gave $600 a week to people who were unemployed for months and months and months. They gave subsidies to people with kids. They increased spending on food stamps. I mean, trillions and trillions of...
They kept giving us this child tax credit every month. We were getting $500 a month.
Really?
For you and Vivian. But not Emily. I don't know why.
Because Emily not... Well,
She's not childish enough. I don't know. But
maybe she wasn't registered in the school system.
I don't know. But they kept giving us money. You know why that made me mad? Because I have to pay taxes on it later on.
Dollars of stimulus money. This was vital aid to people in need. But even people who didn't lose a job got a check in the mail. It was free money for everyone. And we spent it.
I just picked up myself a new bike. Demand is up across the country.
It's time to grind, politics.
Do you remember we tried to go buy bikes? Or we bought bikes?
Yeah, that bike store.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember how much we were spending on bikes?
It's like $300.
We were spending double what it was online. But you couldn't buy it online. So it's $150 online. And we go to the store, we had to pay $300. That's what they're talking about here. It's exactly what they're talking about here.
We all just got these big checks from the government. During a pandemic, we're like, YOLO, I'm buying a boat or a Peloton or whatever.
Pokemon cards.
There's Netflix,
Fortnite,
A new motor.
Peloton,
soak in a hot tub.
Animal Crossing.
Push it out a little bit so it fits. so
No,
we'll just
don't
leave
you
it.
dare!
But pair all this new spending with the fact that the pandemic also made it harder for factories and ships and retailers to get us all this stuff.
Supply chain issue.
Global supply chain.
Supply chain.
So now you have an economy where people have way more money than normal and they're ready to spend it, but the economy can't get them stuff fast enough. So what do businesses do with all this insane new demand? They raise prices all at the same time, and that is inflation. I feel like we're getting this at this point. But what do interest rates have to do with all this?
Raising the interest rate.
Interest rate.
Or the Fed?
Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve.
Most countries have a central bank, the puppet master of the economy, the bank of all banks for that country. But it's not like a normal bank that stores our money and then lends it out and collects interest to make profit. That's what a normal private bank does. The central bank, which we call the Fed here in the US, is run by the government. So their job is to set the rules or policies that all the other banks have to follow. And
You ever heard of that? So I disagree with him on this part.
Why?
It's not run by the government. It's run by a bunch of rich people that run the government.
That makes sense.
the central bank isn't motivated by profit, but rather their job is to babysit the economy, to keep it growing, to make sure people have jobs, to make sure that prices don't fluctuate too much, so that we can keep growing nicely. No slowdown, no recession. That is what the Fed is there for. But seriously, the Fed is like a puppet master, and we are the puppets, and it's kind of creepy. They pull strings in the economy to get us to spend our money in a certain way, which in turn affects how much businesses raise or drop their prices. And guess what? It totally works. One of the strings that they have to pull in the economy is called the interest rate. Want to borrow money to buy a car or a house or expand your business? You're going to be way more likely to do that if you only have to pay 2% interest on that loan as opposed to like 6%. Lower interest rates equal people and businesses want to borrow and spend money. So during the pandemic, the central bank was like, we need everyone to spend money. So they lowered the interest rate and people borrowed and people spent and it totally worked. We're like freaking puppets. So a low interest rate helps stimulate the economy. But once again, we're in this same place where there's now too much money to borrow and spend and not enough goods and services to spend it on. So what do businesses do all at the same time? They raise prices to meet all this new demand all at the same time. And now your money is worth less. And that is inflation.
Home prices rising at their highest
Astronomical
rate.
bidding wars.
Rents are going up.
By nearly 24%.
So that's what's happening right now. All the prices are rising kind of at the same time.
What we have for the last few years.
Yeah.
Right? Prices keep going up and up and up. Did you hear anything about that for the houses?
Not the houses, mainly gas prices, because people were so outraged by them.
What that means is that your $100 bill is now worth 8% less than it was last year. Like the same money is worth less because your purchasing power just got diluted. And imagine if that keeps happening. Like instead of 8%, it's...
Does that make sense? Your dollar last year is worth 92 cents today. Does that make sense?
It's sad.
But do you understand what that means? So, like last
Took away my 8 cents.
They took away your 8 cents. This is true. But your spending power, so not only is everything getting more expensive, but your dollar is worth less also. So it's a double whammy.
Soon, like your $100 bill, it's gonna be like
It's a $92 bill.
Right.
Well, after a few years, yeah, it's gonna be a $10 bill.
50%. Now your $100 bill is worth what $50 used to be. And that's when people start to freak out. And our economy that's built on human psychology starts to falter and we fall into a recession or a depression even, if it gets real bad, which is exactly what the Fed is built to avoid. So they're back to pulling their strings and they've started raising rates.
The Federal Reserve is raising interest rates.
Federal Reserve taking action to try and curb rising inflation.
They're gently raising the interest rate to cool down all of this hardcore spending and borrowing. See if they can steer the ship back on course. And let's hope it works.
He's saying that they're raising the interest rates to make it more expensive for people to borrow money, so they're going to spend less. So I had a friend come on the show, Chris Noggle. Chris Noggle was on the show, and he talked about when they raise interest rates, their job is to suck money out of the economy. All right, so the government's been printing money and letting it really cheap. Okay. What he says, when they lower the interest rate, when they raise the interest rate, their job is to suck money out of the economy so that we all have less money. So what's happened? everything's more expensive, our dollar's worth less, and we're going to have less of it. And we're going to have a recession. That's what's going to happen in the next few months. So the government, the Federal Reserve, has decided that they're going to keep raising interest rates. And so more people lose their jobs. So that there's less money in the economy. And until a bunch of people are really unhappy, they won't be done with their job. So, what's the lesson here?
It's the government is giving more money, which is they're just basically raising prices of everything by just giving people money.
But there's people that think that you should, if the government puts more money into the economy, it's good for everybody. What do you think?
No, because you're gonna get taxed on that too.
You're gonna get taxed on that, and your dollar's gonna be worth less,
You're gonna get taxed on everything you get.
and everything's gonna be more expensive.
Not only are they printing more money, now there's online money. Like
What does that mean?
like Bitcoin and Ethereum, all that stuff. There's online money now, and sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down. But when you sell them once, like at a high point, you get more money, but you're also getting taxed on that.
Yeah. So, a lot of people think it's good to put money into the economy, and they seem to always forget this part, where there's always a hangover, a sad part afterwards.
There's always a sad part,
But they think it's always gonna be a party forever.
No.
Okay. So what do you guys think? Was our analysis accurate, on point? Was our reaction satisfactory? Should they have printed more money? Should they not have printed money during COVID? Let me know in the comments.